Hello everyone. This week's parasha is Parashat Matot and Masei. We have two parashiot. And in the Parashat Matot, Hashem commends Moshe Rabbeinu that he should get army and he should go and fight with Midian. Why? To take a revenge of what Midianim did. They sent their daughters, and because of that, they caused Jewish people to sin, and 24,000 Jewish men passed away. Now, to take a revenge, they had to go to a war. So they made an army and they went to the war. And after they defeated Midianim, it mentions the kings. Okay, it mentions kings of Midian. The pasuk says, "V'et malchei Midian hargu al chalalehem." It says, and they killed the kings of Midian, and it mentions all their names. The first one that's mentioned is Evi, then Rekem, then Tzur, Hur, Reva, and all these were 5 kings of Midian. And also there they killed also Bil'am, son of Beor, and they killed him with a sword. Now, what's interesting is it mentions the names of the kings. Now, one of the names, it sounds familiar, is Tzur. Who's Tzur? Now, we know from last week's Parsha, we mentioned Tzur, Parashat Pinchas. It mentioned Tzur, and also at the end of Parashat Balak, it says that the Tzur was the father of Cosbi, the lady who went and she sinned with Zimri ben Salu, who was a Nasi of Shemet Shimon, and she was a princess, and Tzur was her father. So now the Midrash Tanchuma says very interesting. Midrash Tanchuma says, we know that Tzur was one of the greatest kings. From all these 5 kings, Tzur was one of the greatest kings. So why does the Torah mention him as number 3? The Torah mentions Evi, Rekem, Tzur, and then mentions Hur, Reva. But why is Tzur mentioned third one? If he was one of the greatest kings, he should have been mentioned as first one. Now, the Midrash gives an explanation, and he says the reason why he was brought down to the third, and he was mentioned as third and not as first, even though he was one of the greatest kings, because of the act that he did. He gave over his daughter that she should go, a princess, that she should go and sin with, to do this crazy act, to go and to do the immoral act in public. So since Tzur agreed to this, his level was brought down to the third level. Now when we read this midrash, we should wonder. The question is, who cares? Like, what does Tzur? Tzur is killed. Does he really care if he's mentioned as third or fourth or fifth or first? He doesn't really care. He's killed. It's finished. And similar question is asked in Parashat Chaye Sarah, when Avram Avinu, he buys the land, a property, from Ephron. And we know Ephron, Chazal tell us, our rabbis tell us, that Ephron was not a straight person. He lied, he said one thing, then he changed his, and then he really meant something else. And Torah, and how do we know? The Torah writes it because he wasn't a straight person. The Torah writes it without vav, and that's a hint. So the commentaries ask, like, who cares? Like, what does Ephron really care if his name is written with vav or without vav? And Midrash really tells us that the reason why he lost vav is because of his action, because of his shady handling of the cell. So again, like, does Ephron really care? that he lost Vav, that he did not lose letter Vav. So why does the Torah do this? Like, why does this have to happen? So the answer is like this. The Mefarshim explain that as long as we're in this world, we feel like that this world is a reality. This world is the truth. And Olam Haba, the world to come, is some kind of fantasy. It's something that's not reality. It's a fantasy. We don't associate ourselves with Olam Haba. And that's a mistake. The mistake. Because in this world, a person, if he gets insulted, okay, you could shrug it off and just move on. In the next world, the world to come, everything is exposed. Everything is seen. Everything will be seen. If a person is in a low level, that's it. He will be embarrassed. And he won't be embarrassed for 1 day, for 2 days. It's forever and ever. Tzur or Ephron, when they are, their name is written in a third level. Yeah, the Tzur, for example, he was one of the best kings, and now he went down. Or Ephron, his name is not written with Vav. It's embarrassment forever and ever and ever in Olam Haba. For us, when we get embarrassed, okay, 1 or 2 days, it bothers us, and then we just move on. In Olam Haba, it stays forever and ever and ever. So why? Because Olam Haba is the real world. Everything is exposed. Everything is there. So if Tzur and Ephron, if they would be in this world and they would hear that their name is going down to the third level, or the name won't be written with Vav or without Vav, they would say, okay, whatever, and they just move on. But now they're in the next world, and they see what happened to them, and they go through extreme shame and embarrassment for forever and ever and ever and ever. A person has to work in this world. In this world we work, we try to fix ourselves. In this world we could cover up, but the next world, everything is exposed, everything is seen. So it's a lesson, something that we have to take, to fix ourselves, to become better in this world, to do tshuva, so we could serve Hashem and become better Jews. And of course, in the next world, to become, we won't be embarrassed. Why? Because we did tshuva. We were on the right path. Shabbat shalom to all.